Okay, so good morning, everyone, to this second seminar of lunch seminars devoted by Discovery. Today we will have two really nice presenters. We have Candela de la Sota that will act as moderator, and we will have also Julia Urquijo that will be the presenter. So Candela is the director of Spanish Sustainable Development Network, and Julia is professor at UPM. So we don't want to take the lead today, and the floor will be directly to Candela. So Candela, Julia, thank you very much for your time and being here in this session.
Thank you, Álvaro, and thank you for inviting us. So my name is Candela de la Sota. I am the director of SDSN Spain. SDSN stands for Sustainable Development Solutions Network, an organization set up in 2012 under the auspices of the United Nations Secretary General. And our goal is to promote integrated approaches to implement the SDGs and also the Paris Agreement through education, research, policy analysis, and also global cooperation. Since 2018, Julia Urquijo, the speaker of today, has been working with us, with SDSN Spain, in the actions related to supporting local governments and development of indicators, which she's presenting today. Julia is a PhD in agricultural engineering and master in program and public policy evaluation. She is part-time professor at the School of Agricultural, Food and Biosystem Engineering at the Technical University of Madrid. She teaches in the Master in Strategies and Technology for Human Development and also in the Master in Agroenvironmental Technology for Sustainable Agriculture. With more than 15 years of experience in international cooperation and sustainable development, especially in Latin America, her research focuses on climate change and disaster risk reduction, food security, and right to food issues. She's also a specialist in the evaluation of public policy and projects and in the development and use of indicators of sustainability. Since 2015, she has been working on the implementation of the Agenda 2030 at different levels, supporting key actors such as ministries, local governments, and also companies. And she belongs to the EELISA Discovery community. So that's it. Julia, I give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Candela. I'm going to share the presentation. Please let me know if you can see it correctly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So hi, everybody, and thanks to Álvaro and Francesca for inviting me to be here today. Thanks, Candela, for the introduction. And nice to meet you all in this second session about localizing the Agenda 2030 at the urban level, where I'm going to share with you the experience of the Spanish cities. I want to share with you like 4 key ideas. One is related to the need to understand the implications of the implementation of the agenda at the local level, especially at the urban level in the cities. Secondly, I want to go deep on some key considerations on the use and definition of indicators of sustainability and its challenges. And then I want to present the experience that we developed with the SDSN Spain that mentioned Candela, the study about the implementation of the SDG at the urban level, which covered 100 cities in Spain. To end, I want to try to discuss on the potential of scaling down this experience to the university campus where you are studying. So to start, I want to analyze or to define what do we mean by the process of localization of the SDGs. This means that we have to go from the global level to the national level and then to the local level. So localizing refers to the process that needs to be taken into account that needs to take into account the subnational context to achieve the SDGs, which implies setting goals and targets to determine the means of implementation and to use indicators to measure the progress and of these SDGs. Thus, it implies adapting, implementing, and monitoring the agenda at the local level. Okay, so why this process is important to achieve the Agenda 2030? Because we need to translate the SDG principles into local and regional plans, because most of the challenges in the localization and implementation depending on local planning processes, because the responsibilities according to different decentralization process are for local and regional governments. So we need to take place locally how we plan sustainable development. So local and regional governments have to play a leading role in this process. So they also have to involve and to take into account the needs and the interest of different stakeholders. I mean, companies, civil society organization, and also the university, because they are the ultimate responsible for the development of the territory. This also, it's important because in the cities is where most of the world population lives. And they are territories that generates almost 70% of the greenhouse emissions globally. So these all implications has to be taken into account when we think about urban sustainability development. But how we undertake a process of localization of the agenda at the local level? Okay, pues several organizations have developed guidelines, orientations on how to go through this process. I select this one developed by UN Habitat in collaboration with UNDP and the Union of Local and Regional Governments. So they prepare a roadmap for localizing the SDGs. And they proposed undertaking 4 steps. The first one is related to raising awareness at the subnational level, which includes the urban level, and it promotes the understanding and the knowledge of the agenda by all these actors, which plays a relevant role at the subnational level. Secondly, it's necessary to promote a process of advocacy in which we are able to include subnational perspective into national SDG strategy. So the local vision is taken into account at the national level. The third step proposed is the implementation of the SDGs at the local level, which mainly implies the adaptation of the targets and the indicators to the local level, which means taking into account the context of our territory, the means of implementations, and the needs of the inhabitants. To finish, it's necessary to establish the monitoring system, which will help us to evaluate and to learn from our experiences on how we achieve these SDGs goals. The starting point is the understanding of sustainable urban development, which implies achieving a balance between urban development and environmental protections. Some authors propose to focus on the development of 4 pillars. One is the social development, the economic development, the environmental development, and also the urban governance pillar. So that is important because, as the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said, our struggle for global sustainability will be won or lost in cities. So it's especially relevant to make urban territories sustainable. But measuring sustainability is very challenging. Why? Because sustainability is a multidisciplinary discipline that raises difficulties on an integrated assessment. It has at least 3 dimensions: the environmental, the economical, and the social, that must be taken into account and must be balanced to promote this sustainable development. Moreover, the indicator system should be interpreted in combination with public policies knowledge. And the indicators we may use should be smart, which means that should be specific, understand as they, which means that they should be enough detailed and concrete to measure what we intend to measure. Measurable, which means that regardless who uses the indicator, it should be measured in the same way. Achievable, which means that we may be able to collect data in a cost-effective way. Relevant, which is linked to the relevance in a specific context. So it has to be important and according to the needs of that context. And timely, which is related to the time frame in which it is calculated and updated, so it can be useful for the purpose it is calculated. Why is important to measure sustainability? Because it is not possible to achieve what we are not able to measure. This means that if we cannot measure, we won't have evidences to ensure that we are achieving a particular SDG goal. Moreover, the availability of quality data is the basis for informed decision-making on sustainable development. Our politicians should base their decision on data which is of enough relevance, rigorous, and accuracy about sustainable development. And we need to ensure that we meet the underlying principle of the agenda of leaving no one behind, which means that we need data disaggregation, because that will allow us to understand the differences among different groups of people, especially those most vulnerable. However, the indicators are tools that can help us to understand a complex phenomenon by its simplification. They are very useful as a communicative tool to share information in a quite simple and understandable way. It is essential to support decision-making processes, and it will give us the information and the metrics on how we are progressing in achieving a goal. But we also have to face, in doing so, we also have to face some challenges related with the limitations on data availability and quality that we face. The complexity of the results sometimes can generate confusion and misunderstanding on that on the metrics of that indicators, and sometimes those indicators are not enough relevant or accurate to measure what we want to measure. But we can start using the UN Global Framework indicators that were defined by United Nations, which implies the definition of 232 indicators at the international level. The calculation of these indicators will allow us to compare among the progress of the different countries. But this is not enough to understand how a specific territory, especially at subnational level, is achieving the Agenda 2030. So the SDSN Spanish organization, that in Spanish it's called REDS, developed a set of indicators of 106 indicators at the local level to measure the progress of the SDGs for the Spanish cities. So this is an example of how each sector or territory can develop its particular set of indicators to localize the agenda to their territory and their needs. So to contextualize the exercise of measuring the SDGs in the Spanish cities, I want to mention that this process started in 2016 with the development of guidelines on how to implement the SDGs in the cities, which was developed by the SDSN. Then in 2018, the first calculation of these indicators for the Spanish cities were published. But it was in 2020 when the second study was published, which implies quite interesting and numerous improvements from the previous exercise. And that is the study I want to put the focus on and present the experience and how we develop this methodology to measure the SDGs in the Spanish cities. The idea was to measure the performance at the urban level of the SDGs, presenting an overview of the status of those SDGs at the local level in Spain. For that purpose, we select all the Spanish cities with more than 80,000 inhabitants. It also allows to know in an analytical and objective way the degree of compliance with these SDGs in 103 cities in Spain, which is more about 21 million people and accounts for more or less 50% of the Spanish population. Moreover, this is a tool for political action and mobilization around the agenda for sustainable development, which set the basis for the analysis of its progress and for the debate on how to accelerate its progress and achievement. At the end, it implies the development of a complex system of indicators. For that, we follow the methodology promoted and implemented by SDSN in all other studies they develop at the international level. Finally, we define 106 indicators based on 24 different sources of information. The majority of these sources of information are official. All these indicators, the 84% were calculated at the municipal level and the other 16% at a regional or community autonomous level. We also include some indicators on qualitative indicators and budgetary others that measure the budgetary effort made by the local governments to For the development of all this process, we count with the participation of the permanent working group composed by different representatives of different local governments. And at the end, we undertake a public consultation process, which in my opinion, it was very successful because we collected more than 125 comments and suggestions for the improvement of this tool and set of indicators, which came from more than 30 organizations. Some of them were universities, others were from NGOs, and also from local governments. The methodology follows these 5 steps, basically. First of all, we develop a conceptual framework to understand the SDGs, and we select the indicators, their sources of information to feed that framework. This process was held with the support of an expert consultation group. And once we define all this set of indicators, we calculate them, following a process of normalization of the variables, weighting in the data, managing the missing values and the data imputation. And at the end, we aggregate all these indicators into a complex index. Finally, we develop the public consultation process. And at the end, some tools were developed for the presentation and visualization of the results in order to better understand them. Some of the examples of these tools is this dashboard where all the with all the cities are presented according to the level of progress regarding the 17 SDGs. This can be used to identify which SDGs are perform or have a better performance for all the Spanish cities analyzed. For example, SDG 6 and SDG 16, and on the other hand, to identify those that have limited data, like the SDG 14, or worse performance, like SDG 17 on alliances and partnerships, or SDG 2 on hunger. Moreover, if we analyze the number of cities that perform well, which means in green color, or performs worse in red color, we can see how is the distribution for the different SDGs, and take and make some analysis to that respect. Finally, in this study, we developed what we call city data sheets, where in a one-page summary data sheet, we collect all the information by city. So here we can see, you can see the example for Madrid, for example, or for Vitoria-Gasteiz. Here it's difficult to see, but there are all the indicators organized by SDG with the value and the color assigned to that value, which goes from dark green is the best value, and here we don't have the orange one, but the orange one is the worst value. In this new edition of the study, we also develop an interactive web page where you can select the city you want to look for, and to see how it progress on the different SDGs, or even you can select an SDG and see how the different cities progress on that specific SDG. So here you have the link to the webpage if you want to go deeper on that. And to finish, I want to highlight four relevant issues that resulted from this study, which are that to help local authorities, this study helped local authorities to identify existing challenges to achieve sustainable development in their cities. That is really important because it's a tool that can act as a starting point for the development of a strategy, of local strategies to advance in the progress of the SDGs at the local level. It promoted a space for debate and reflections on the role of cities and municipal action to achieve the SDGs, stimulating new ideas and potential actors. It contributes to enable local government decision makers to consult on the progress made in sustainability issues and to improve them. And it allows for exploiting synergies and complementarities between different sustainable indicators system. And to that point, my reflections come to on how can we take this experience into account to develop a system of indicators for the university campus across Europe. And here is my last thought. Thank you very, very much for listening and for attending to this talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. So thank you for this very interesting and also really visual and clear presentation. So now we have some time to answer to your questions and also listen to your comments if you have. We have around 50 minutes, I think. So you can use the chat if you want, or also you can use the raise hand option in Zoom if you have any questions.
Well, thank you, Julia and Candela. I don't know if you can share the link of the website on the chat, maybe. If you can share the link.
Sure.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? If not, maybe I can start with putting some questions to for Julia and also for the rest of for you, if you want to, to share your comments about it. So maybe I would like to start asking you, Julia, and everyone, and following the last thought or the last question of Julia about how can we localize the SDGs at the university level, and what are the main opportunities and challenges for this process of localization at our universities, and maybe if you know about some success stories about it in Spain or in other countries.
To what I know, there is no any experience that for the development of a system of indicators to measure sustainability at the university level. On the other hand, I think that it would be necessary to expand this kind of exercise that we did at the urban level for the cities in Spain to other actors, which are implied also in the achievement of the agenda. And the universities are a key actor in doing so, because they can be understood as a laboratory, no? Because sometimes they function as a small city, no? So given the successful of the results of this study, I think it would be very interesting to have this kind of metrics adapted to the university level. And I think that this kind of communities that in which many universities are participating could be a good starting point to discuss and to reflect on how to do that.
Thank you, Julia. I don't know if anyone wants to share their comments or ask any question on the chat. Not yet. Well, as far as I know, SDSN Spain, we are trying to develop this set of indicators, and we are trying to pilot with, I think, 5 universities in Spain. I know this is not easy, as you were saying, but it is also really necessary. So I hope in 1 year we can share with you the results and also life experiences and the successful story about this process of localization, the SDGs at the university level.
That sounds great, Candela.
So I don't know if you want to leave it here, and maybe if you want to share your comments or your questions and by email, maybe after looking at the website or thinking about all the interesting thoughts Julia shared with us. If you have some question, you can write us, and we will ask you very happy.
Thank you both. As you know, you can always write us at our email address, discovery.community@upm.es, and feel free to write us, and we will send your email comments to our to Julia and Candela, and we know that it's a lot of information and quite complex aspects about sustainability, so probably it's not so easy to have a question to do now, but as you know, this seminar is until the end of April, and you can always ask for more information and curiosity, all you need. So I think that we can stop here. Thanks again, Julia and Candela, for staying with us. Thanks a lot for your interesting presentation, and I hope see you soon in other activities organized by Discovery or other community working in these aspects. Thanks a lot to all the people who attended the meeting, the session, and see you next week with another interesting conference. Now it's seminar. Okay, thank you a lot, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh.